Okay. Hey, everybody, this is Amy Fox, and I am with Amy Fox Wellness on Instagram, as well as I am in our Facebook group right now, which is called Fat Loss Secrets for Busy Professionals. And today we're going to be talking about fasting. And right off the bat, I'm building the case for why you should reconsider fasting if you're a woman. But I also wanted to kind of go back in the details about fasting and why I've taken this position. So first off, I want to use the disclaimer that I am not a doctor or physician. I don't prescribe medical advice or to treat. I am not a medical professional, but I am a certified nutrition coach. And all of the research and hours and hours and hours of things that I have done with podcasts, with peer-reviewed studies, with my own certifications that I've taken, and my own experimentation, I'm really speaking to you from all of that experience and that trial and error on my own, because as a coach, my goal is to help you get to your goals faster than hopefully it's taken me to get to my goals. And I really, I know that there's always going to be a rebuttal to this. Like everyone's going to have their opinions. If you go onto social media or the internet, there is a rebuttal for everything. This diet's the best. This nutrition plan's the best. This doctor says this doctor says that. And so this is where we got to put our critical thinking caps on, and you know your body. You know your body so well. In fact, I believe that you know it better than doctors and stuff. Can you treat or diagnose? Maybe not, but you're smart. We're smart people, and we can figure out things. We can do research. We can look up stuff. We can read things, and we can learn. So if you're thinking about fasting, or you've been trying fasting, or you're kind of like, why is this Amy girl saying that girls shouldn't fast? It's like, hey, just come in with an open mind and see if maybe the case that I build for why this should be reconsidered for women or be used in a different technique or a different way is something to be open to. So I would say just be open to these suggestions and conversations that we're going to have. And so I figured a good starting point was like, let's just do the history of fasting. So really, our bodies are so intelligent and smart. And if you think about it, our bodies are able to go without food for a period of time and survive. So if you think about the hunter and gatherers, back in the day, there was probably feast or famine. I mean, we see that in the Bible. We see that in normal circumstances. Even now, there's droughts, and there's still tribes out there that maybe have these experiences where they're not necessarily eating all day long, right? And here in America, we can eat all day long if we so desire. And I know a lot of that fasting came from maybe kind of trying to cut back on some of that stuff. If you also think about the history of fasting, if you think about people who are put in really stressful situations like concentration camps during the Holocaust or prisoners of war, like really horrible situations. And if they had a little bit of nutrients and a little bit of water, despite what they went through, they survived. And that's how incredibly intelligent our bodies are. They are able to adapt to survive through the elements, survive through complicated situations. So when I got my first certification with Primal Blueprint, it was from that primal paleo world. It probably came out about 20 years ago or so, or maybe even longer than that. And obviously going back to our hunter-gatherers, it's kind of like, hey, they didn't eat all day long. They had healthier bodies too because of that. And of course, reducing processed foods, reducing sugar, eating off of a food list that is catering to paleo and primal living. So that's kind of where, I was introduced to it as well, and definitely jumped in because it made sense. It's like, oh, you can kind of control your caloric intake that way. It seems like that's what we might have been doing with our ancestors back in the day. So why not? It kind of makes sense. So, if we look at the types of fasting that are out there, that's kind of most popular, most common, we see this 16-8 kind of fraction or whatever. And that's basically where you have an 8-hour eating window and a 16-hour fasting window. There are some fasts that last for a whole day. People will do like maybe once a week or something. There's some people that might push it for 3 days, and they're looking for something called autophagy, which is basically cell turnover. I mean, you're getting all of this junk out of your body and giving your digestion time to process everything. And there's a lot of health benefits that have been noted when it comes to going through prolonged fasts, or maybe doing it daily, or maybe doing it once a week. And I'll link to some articles that talk about the benefits of fasting. But why would I get to the point where I'm kind of like, I don't think this is a healthy thing for women? And part of that comes from the fact that all of the studies that have been done out there, I haven't been able to find one on females yet, okay? It's been done on animals and men. So if you're a man and you're doing fasting and it's working really well for you, that's great. You can keep doing it. Go for it. But because of the woman's cycle, because of our menstrual cycle, because of menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause, our hormones are impacted differently with fasting than what men experience. Men can totally do that. And I would say, I'll talk about like working out fasted or whatnot in a little bit, but men, if that's working for you, great. But if you are also noticing maybe some performance issues, maybe it's time to consider eating earlier in the day as well, or breaking your fast sooner. Because here's the thing, we all fast naturally every single night. That's one reason why our bodies are so intelligent, is that we can go to bed and not be eating anything, and we wake up the next morning, God willing, right? So you're kind of already doing it. Why would you need to do it any longer? And here's where my philosophy changed with it too, is when you are restricting yourself from eating food, it is a stressor on the body, and you're not lowering your cortisol levels if you're not eating something to kind of wake up the body and say like, hey, you're fueled, you've got stuff there, you've got something to work with besides your body. You're putting your body in a stressed state when you restrict food for a longer period of time than you need to. And I actually want to share my screen and show you, because I always like to explain things in layman's terms. And I'm going to obviously show my screen here a little bit too. I like to show things in layman's terms, or explain things in layman's terms. And so I'm still learning how to explain this, and I'm going to link this article, but I wanted to read something to you guys just to kind of, obviously, if you've been following me for a little while, you've noticed that Dr. Stacey Sims is kind of like my hero this year. And I've been researching all this information from a lot of female doctors and women who are finally starting to get the word out there about how we need to be treated differently, especially when it comes to fat loss. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because ultimately fasting is not good for fat loss. If you're looking to receive health benefits from it, great, but it should not be used as fat loss. So what's happening? Now, obviously this article is going to be helpful. I will link it here, but it says, so basically something that's mentioned earlier in the article is that if you are reducing your calories or you're exercising, you're already getting the benefits of what fasting does. So if you're an extremely sedentary person who's not going to be doing a lot of movement, maybe fasting would be okay for you. But if you're somebody who actually wants to exercise, who wants to tone your body by lifting weights and building muscle, this is something that needs to be reconsidered, especially as a female. And so she mentions that it comes down to kisspeptin. It's a neuropeptide that's responsible for sex hormones and endocrine and reproductive function, which also plays a significant role in maintaining healthy glucose levels, appetite regulation, and body composition. It's also more sensitive in women than men. When it gets perturbed, our sex hormones aren't produced and released the way we need them to be. Intermittent fasting, and she even talks about keto here, disrupt kisspeptin production. When our brain perceives we have a deficiency in nutrients, especially carbohydrate, we have a marked reduction in kisspeptin stimulation, which not only increases our appetite, but also reduces our sensitivity to insulin. This is why research shows intermittent fasting is more likely to cause impaired glucose intolerance in women, but not men. So I read that to you again, because obviously, like I said, I'm still learning. I always want to learn how I can do stuff in layman's terms and explain it. Like I like to regurgitate it simply, right? And so I wanted to read that article, and I will tag you guys in it, or I'll post it in the comments here. Sorry, I pulled up another tab. But I think that's what the ultimate thing is that when you're waking, so we're thinking of the situation of a woman waking up in the morning, you don't eat any food, maybe you have some coffee, you go to the afternoon and you start eating something, you start eating around lunchtime, and either you're famished or you're rushed, or you have this shorter window to get all of your food in. So obviously if you're training or trying to lose weight, it's really beneficial to have protein sources all throughout the day to get the benefits of protein. And so you kind of lose a little bit of time for yourself, and then you add some added stress to your body. And what we have found is that a lot of our clients naturally fasted just by choice. They weren't necessarily intentionally intermittent fasting. And when we started to get control of their metabolic health, one of the things that we added in was like, let's just have some kind of nutrients in the morning. And what Dr. Sims is talking about too is even with eating, it doesn't have to be anything massive. It can be literally 150 calories. Like that's all I'm talking about here. I'm just talking about kickstarting off your day with some nutrients to bring those cortisol levels down, get your body out of that, like that stressed out state so that you can go on with your day. And that also comes around to working out. So for example, there are a lot of people that will wake up in the morning and do a workout fasted. And if you're a healthy individual and you're getting your allotted calories for the rest of the day, it is completely fine, more than likely, to go ahead and do a fasted workout. I would prefer if it's like 30 minutes or less, no problem. But if it's going to be extended or more strenuous, it kind of depends on what you're doing. So hopefully you have a coach kind of guiding you in that direction. But if it's one of those quicker workouts or whatever, it's like, go ahead, do it fasted if you feel better. But I still like to encourage our clients to have like half of a banana and like a little bit of a protein shake. We have this thing from First Form called ignition, which is basically a glucose that's getting that right into your muscle, waking up your body, getting a little protein, a little fuel in your body to bring down those cortisol levels so that you can go and perform and do your workouts. So you're just literally taking the stress off of your body. And when we've had our clients introduce breakfast back into their life, and sometimes it's starting very small with something very simple, they are able to get their protein goals in for their day. They feel better, their energy levels are better, and it just starts them on the right track. So again, for guys, if you're fasting and everything's fine, great. If you feel like you have performance issues, I would consider fueling yourself, especially before workouts if you're doing them in the morning. But for women, if you're somebody who's like, Amy, I still believe that like fasting is going to be beneficial and I want to try it. First off, again, it's your body. You know yourself better than anybody. There's tons of conflicting information. I've already covered that. But my recommendation would be, instead of starting the day off with fasting, it would be to wean off and towards the evening. And honestly, I think the 16-8 became popular because skipping breakfast didn't normally affect your personal life. Maybe there are some other health benefits out there that we can read about for a morning fast, but for women and supporting our hormones, it would be better for you to start your day with food and then wean off in the evening. And if anything, you could even we could even recommend stopping 2 hours before bed, because it just gives your digestion some time to get that food out of your system or processed into your system. And you're not going to bed with a heavy stomach, or sometimes food can disrupt people's sleep if they're too full when they go to bed. So it's kind of like you're already getting a good chunk. Like if you stop at 7 p.m. and don't eat until 7 a.m., I mean, you've got pretty much 12 hours right there, right? So I would think, if anything, waking up in the morning, eating within 1 to 2 hours. So it's really, the more that I've tried this out, and when we've seen it with clients and I've seen the research, and I have stuff to back it up. And here's my thing to you. If you're somebody who thinks, nope, fasting is great for me, if you're hitting your body composition goals, you're happy with your weight, you're happy with how you feel great, then fine, it works for you. But for the female population, I have seen such a better experience when they start their day with breakfast, or they fuel themselves before they work out. And again, fasting should not be utilized for fat loss. It is not what that is meant for. It's more of a health, overall health, improvement. And I can link an article that will support that. So I really would be curious, if y'all have any thoughts on that. Of course, when you come on social media or stuff and you put yourself out there standing up firm for something, of course, you're going to have maybe haters or people who object to it. I'm building a thick skin for that. I'm getting ready for that. But I literally think what I'm finding is there's not enough data on women in the fitness in general. And there's a movement that's happening that's trying to get better information out there. So of course, I would tell you to follow Dr. Stacey Sims. I think there's another one, Dr. Beth Westy, I think it is. I'm gonna have to double check her name. Dr. Jolene Brighton. I mean, there's these women that are coming out here and saying, look, women operate differently than men. Our menstrual cycles play a role in our overall health. And our bodies are already so stressed out from life, why restrict some food and nutrients, when a little bit of something could go a long way and really help you get to your fat loss goals too. So would love to know your thoughts. Again, I'm Amy at Amy Fox Wellness. We also have our personal training and coaching business called Work in Progress Texas. So it's Work in Progress TX on Instagram. And of course, if you want to join our Facebook group, it's Fat Loss Secrets for Busy Professionals. And I appreciate you watching. So have a fantastic day.